Warning, the following program may contain coarse language, strong violence, and brief sexuality. This video is designed for a mature audience, and viewer discretion is advised. Childe of Shade Reviews, Review number 10, Akame Ga Kill. Throughout my life, I have always seen myself as somewhat of an optimist, especially when it comes to the consumption of entertainment. To me, I always think that there is something to take away from art, whether it be good or bad. And if I at least see something try to be different or push boundaries, I tend to give them the benefit of a doubt. While I have played, watched, and experienced several objectively poor pieces of media, see Devil May Cry 2, Nevermore, Assassin's Creed 3, Warpath, etc., etc., I rarely step away from something thinking that it was completely awful. However, that dreadful feeling came to me once again when summer 2014 rolled around, when I was hanging out at my college and I got a text from my best friend telling me I should watch a certain summer anime called Akame Ga Kill, which I had known nothing about. So after I got home from college, I fired up Crunchyroll, tuned in, and, well, let me show you how fast the alarm bell started ringing for me. So yeah, from that point I knew I was in for a bad time, and sure enough, I had a bad time. The characterization was poor, the tone was all over the place, and the plot twist that was supposed to hook me in left me more dumbfounded and confused on how the writers could possibly feel that was clever or shocking in any way. Needless to say, I had a really rough start with Akame Ga Kill, and through various means and motivations, I, much to my contempt, decided to trudge through it hoping that just maybe, it could just have a really bad start and, well, here we are today. So, ladies and gentlemen, is White Fox's new magus opus a worthy ambitious killer that truly lives up to its title, or should this assassin have his throat cut in the middle of the night, tied to a large rock and then swiftly and unceremoniously thrown into a lake never to be seen again? Well, let's tune in and find out, shall we? The story of Akame Ga Kill follows Tatsumi. Wow, I'm doing some research now and the author couldn't be bothered to give him a last name. Clearly the quality is shining through here. Anyway, the story of Akame Ga Kill follows Tatsumi, a pseudo-mercenary from a faraway village, which never comes up until the last episode, just to let you know, to seek help for it due to the village's suffering from neglect of the government. After showcasing his skills with the sword in front of some travelers, he soon finds himself in the wondrous capital of the empire, where he hopes to find both his friends who were separated from him by attacking bandits, and a stable job to send support to his village. However, things are not as glorious and wondrous as he thought they were in the capital, and after getting rejected from the Imperial Army, he is quickly swindled by a local thief named Leone. After giving her his entire savings, he very slowly figures out that he has been robbed and falls into despair in the streets, suffering from the recent loss of both his friends and his money. Much to his amazement, he is hired and adopted by a wealthy girl named Aria. Tatsumi is then given his first taste of a luxurious life as he spends the next couple days working as a bodyguard and slowly begins to learn of the somewhat corrupt inner workings of the capital. But hey, that shouldn't bother him. After all, he now has a job as a bodyguard, Aria's father wants to vouch for him as a soldier for the Imperial Army, and he's got a roof over his head and a steady source of income. What could possibly go wrong? Well, later that night, the mansion that Tatsumi lives in is attacked by a terrorist group known as Night Raid, who easily cut down the guards and quickly dispose of Aria's parents. In a last-ditch effort, Tatsumi flees the scene with Aria in hand, only for them to be intercepted by the skillful Akame. And once Tatsumi reveals his motivations and skills, a ceasefire is drawn by Leone, who exposes herself as a Night Raid member. Leone then shows Tatsumi the horrible truth about Aria's family, that they have been kidnapping people and torturing them for basically fun and other shallow motivations, and that Tatsumi's friends were their newest victims. Enraged and disgusted, Tatsumi then kills Arya's in revenge, and much to his surprise is rather forcefully adopted as a new member of Night Raid. From there, Tatsumi goes on various adventures and missions with Night Raid and their Imperial arms, which are magical plot convenience weapons built long ago that also have very little explanation, all while learning just how corrupt the Empire has become. Thankfully, that's where the plot summary ends, and I can actually talk about the various problems that plague Akame Ga Kill's plot, from the lack of a real overarching tone and to the rather ludicrous length that the anime goes to in terms of awful writing that's just there to make us feel emotions. Let's start with tone, which, as I said before, was completely all over the place, and as the show goes on, it only gets worse and worse. You see, Akame Ga Kill suffers from an extreme identity crisis where it really doesn't know what it wants to be, and because of this, flip-flops between scenes of comedic tone and scenes of grim tones at the drop of a hat. Oftentimes, moments after a scene involving a killing or tragedy, there will be a rather juvenile humor that's typical of most anime, and it's not even a couple minutes, it can be sometimes seconds. Take the scene in episode 1 where Tatsumi is mourning over the loss of one of his friends, only for the plot to kick in, and what better way to kick it in hard than hilariously drag him away like a drunkard, am I right? I'm not exaggerating at all here either. This out-of-place humor is so poorly handled that I just wonder if Akame Ga Kill was supposed to be a more light-hearted shonen, and somewhere down the writing path the author just decided to add unnecessary amounts of angst and grimdark for the sake of driving up sales. Oh, Tatsumi is in danger from this karate master, and I only got a small window to take him out, and I admire him because of it. Better get my Fourth Tsundere act out whenever he's not happy as I am. Oh no, my arm has been cut off, and I am severely weakened because of it. But it's okay, my arm can just reattach with no penalties whatsoever. Hey look, that guy is flailing his arms like an enraged Mr. Fantastic, but he's dead now, and he knew his killer, so feel sad. The tone of this story just feels so contrived and so forced that it really brought down the show for me, but it's nothing compared to by far the biggest genital nail that was pounded into me while on this anime crucifix, which is the awful writing that screams that the writers had no idea what they were doing and were just making up crap as they went along. Don't believe me? Just listen to this garbage. My sweat is weighing the threads down. I have guns in my arms and mouth, and no, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, are you getting invested in a subplot? Well, I hope we don't pull a time skip on you guys. And my favorite, I knocked them out with poison. Why aren't our minions affected? Because I gave them the antidote. The antidote. Bravo, White Fox, bravo. I know what genre this belongs to and that it's an anime on top of that, but just that level of not giving a single damn makes my skin crawl. I could just go on and on and on about this, and I have, but enough is enough, and I really need to move on. So after almost 3 pages of ranting and raving, let's corner this target and have him tell us what he knows about characters. As far as characters go for Akame Ga Kill, they are probably the best part of the show, but even then they're buried under a very poor understanding of what actual characterization is and hilariously bad one-dimensional stereotypes that overshadow the rest of the cast. I'll ease the pressure off Akame Ga Kill for now and start with the good. While most of the cast, i.e. everyone involved with Night Raid, is rather underdeveloped, there is some actual good ideas behind some of the characters, and when they come to fruition, they can cast much needed morally gray light on certain perspectives. Surprisingly, this trait is most apparent in the warring rivals of Night Raid, the Jaegers, Imperial soldiers who also wield Imperial arms and rival Night Raid in power. Anyway, there are shades of gray there, for example Bulls, a lovable father type who's extremely considerate and always looking in a positive light, but at the same time when on a mission, he kills without mercy or any emotion. Not because he enjoys it, but because he's doing what he thinks is best for his family. Even Wave, Tatsumi's mirror counterpart who joined the fight for similar reasons, exhibits some of these attributes with his outlook on life. He doesn't fight for personal gain or achieving some great feat, he does it because he thinks it's the right thing to do. And though he turns a blind eye to his psychopathic leader, in his heart he thinks he's doing the right thing by helping the people, yet he is ignorant of the dangers that these people face from their leaders. Once again, Akame Ga Kill, I'll give you credit for that, and that's something I like to see. But then there's everyone else, and now I have to take those credits that I gave the show and rip them up to pieces because of this. Because, oh, just listen to this. Ha 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 ha! I steal money from people and treat them like walking piles of money to be plundered. I slaughter people in masses for no reason other than it's fun. I drug my prostitutes, sexually and physically abuse them, and whenever I'm done I throw them out into the street because they're too lost in their addiction. I'm a manipulative and lecherous priest who abuses my power for my own gain. I'm a mad scientist who uses live test subjects and kills them without mercy for my own personal gain and advancement. Good God, this list goes on, but these guys are completely one-dimensional and have all the finesse and complexity of a straw man. In fact, that's all they are, walking blood-filled piñatas for Night Raid to bust open because we need an excuse for all the gore and violence that takes place in the series. In fact, there's so many of them and they're so evil it makes me wonder, why would anyone put up with this? Sure, the Empire has Imperial arms and such, but everyone with even the slightest look of common sense would know that it would be better just be butchered now and at least attempt to stop this corruption rather than just suffer and be butchered later. Because of this, all the moral ambiguity is flushed away and all the hard work of building characters up is just waste. I would go into more detail, but I'm already way over on time here, and I still need to talk about one more thing, that is, which I'm pretty sure more of you are asking, well, what about Night Raid? My response is simply, what about Night Raid? For all their killing and claims of protecting the people, they don't really do much beyond the first part. Even then, there's such little characterization that goes on. Much of their personality traits come from their archetypes rather than their backstory and motivation. Tatsumi is a kind-hearted guy who, while hesitant at first, is willing to take action when the need arises. Leone is your typical tomboy big sister type who loves to tease everyone. Chio's the ditzy one. Akame is the stoic serial eater. Lubok's the underappreciated perverted one. Mine's the Cinderella. Bullet's the toughest nails gay man. And I literally got nothing to say about Najinda other than she's the leader. That's pretty much as far as they go without going into spoiler territory, which I have to because that's where all the development lies. So here's an image. Click on it if you want to avoid them. I suggest you don't do this, but hey, it's your choice. Anyway, you got 5 seconds. Now that people have left, let's talk about character deaths. By episode 7, it becomes pretty clear that in order to evoke emotions, Akame Ga Kill just decides to kill characters off whenever it feels that it needs to happen. This is made bluntly more obvious by the fact that almost every character has their tragic backstory told right before they die, and this just doesn't work. Yes, Akame Ga Kill, it's sad when people die, but just throwing a person's backstory out before their death doesn't mean that we instantly care about them. Not only that, but that's, like I said earlier, all the characterization that they get. Not once did I feel bad about Shields, Bulats, or even Chelsea's demise when they came around. Vice versa with the Jaeger's side, but to be fair, Bolse was really the only likable one. At the end of the day, Akame Ga Kill really only serves as an example of why you just can't tell us to feel emotions. Stab, decapitate, and crunch all the characters you want, but if you want to give us a reason besides a tragic past, then you really can't engage your audience. Well, with all that out of the way, let's slash our way to sound and presentation. Normally I don't combine 2 sections together, but looking at the script, it is now 8 pages long and I'm sure you guys have been patiently waiting through over 10 minutes of this video, so I need to make up for time here. Besides, pretty much my opinion of both of these is that it's fine, but nothing special. Animation for the action scenes is usually pretty consistent and fluid, however when the more slice of life bits spring up, it drops in quality pretty fast. Art quality is pretty bland in my opinion. While it's not awful, it can just look generic in a lot of instances, yet not generic enough to make me hate it. Colors that aren't blood feel rather saturated, like when they were adapting from the manga, the author just said Akame is red, mine is pink, Leone is yellow, and they chose the blamest shade possible. The only real eye-opening scenes are when the visceral violence is on display, but after a while it begins to wear thin. Overall, the presentation for Akame Ga Kill isn't bad, it's just like the rest of the anime. Fluctuates all over the place and yet is easily the most stable part about it. As for sound, well, I really don't have much to say here besides it's rather forgettable. Neither the openings or the soundtrack have any real hook in them and they are only there to occupy space. Both the openings, Liar Mask and Skyreach, have their moments, but I can barely bring myself to remember how the songs went. While there is a soundtrack for Akame Ga Kill, it has yet to be released and any research on an unofficial soundtrack have proven futile, so I can't really give it a second chance. But I can't recall any emotional pieces that stood out to me, so I'll just say that it's okay. Nothing special, but nothing offensive. Unfortunately, I watched this as it aired, so I have no idea what the English dub is like, but since it has been licensed by Sentai Filmworks, I'm just gonna assume that it's not great. Now that this target has been decapitated, let's dispose of his body and turn in the final results to the guild. Surely by the time that you have reached this point, you have realized that, to a large extent, I really didn't like this show, even to the point of hating it, which is kind of the truth. I do hate this show. When it was airing, I despised the show and loathed almost every aspect that came along, to the point I termed it as my own personal flogging. The all over the place tone, the complete not giving a damn when it came to the writing and story, and the amount of times the anime thought it was so much clever than it actually was. It just piled and piled and piled to the point I wanted to crucify it when it was done. I wanted to make it feel what I felt as I watched it every single week, hoping that it would just get slightly better when it was done. I just wanted to scream that it was the worst piece of utter gutter trash to ever exist. But that didn't happen. Why? Because the last couple of episodes are actually fairly good. Also why? Because the stuff that happens there matters. While there is still some sketchy writing here and there, points are made and stakes are risen. Everything that happens in those last 2 episodes feels like they needed to happen, where lives are at stake and everything is exposed so you can see what the writers were going for. So here I am, reading off a script I thought was meant to completely destroy the show with, and I'm feeling something I hate to feel with media like this: confliction. On the one hand, episodes 1 through 22 were total drack and made me hate the show. On the other hand, it did what other anime completely fail at, which is end on a high note. All I'll say is this: Akame Ga Kill is a bad show. It's poorly written, it's got the consistency of a bipolar chameleon, and in many ways it completely fails on what it's trying to deliver. For now, it's the worst show I've ever held witness to, but I know that sometime down the line I'm going to experience something far more sinister and awful. When that day comes, I'll give you more slack, Akame Ga Kill, but until then, I'm just done with you. So after assessing the target's location, then ripping off my arm and throwing it like a boomerang, slicing this target in half and then reattaching my arm, no problem, I have decided to give judgment to Akame Ga Kill's various aspects, including story, characters, presentation, sound, and overall enjoyment of the series. Starting with story, which gets an awful 2.5 for trying and ending properly, but having absolutely horrid writing and abysmal tonal consistency. Next there's characters, which does slightly better, but not by much, with a 3.5 for having some good ideas behind them, but relying way too much on stereotypes. Presentation gets a passable 5.25 for looking decent and having a bit of effort put into it, but containing some rather generic art and saturated coloring. Succeeding from that is sound, which gets an extremely meh 5.0 for having me barely even notice it. Lastly, there is the moment we've all been waiting for, which is enjoyment. And I'll go on in record and say that it gets us 2.75. Yes, I know that's quite harsh, but hating a whole 22 out of 24 episodes, which is a rounded 92% of the show, is enough to drive you to those depths. Tallying all those scores together, I ultimately give Akame Ga Kill a pitiful 38% and ultimately recommend that you avoid this anime. I think I have been completely beaten this horse to death, with its various problems and fatal flaws. It does somewhat redeem itself at the end, but by then it's far too down the hole in order to save it. So with all that out of the way, you may be wondering, well, he just said a lot of terrible things about the show and now I have to watch it. Now for you pitiable souls out there who just need to watch this, I'll start out by saying that Akame Ga Kill has been licensed by Sentai Filmworks and is available for legal streaming on Crunchyroll and Hulu completely for free. If you are watching this from the future, it may have a dual Blu-ray/DVD release containing 12 episodes each for roughly $40 to $60 a piece. It may have a dub considering its popularity, but that isn't something I would bet money on. For alternate recommendations, I'll start with a somewhat of a classic, Zerk. While I have not finished it as of this recording, January 18th, 2015, it is quite popular for its mature and dark storytelling, and if someone enjoyed this show, I can see them liking the medieval dark fantasy. Just be wary of its ending. Next, I'll go with a video game that I haven't played and enjoyed, which is Assassin's Creed 2. It's a great example of this concept done right, with a likable main character and an interesting setting and story to accompany it. I'm sure there's many people out there who disagree with this recommendation, but I'll only respond with the fact that it got 2 pseudo-sequels to accompany it. Well, that was exhausting. Thanks again for watching, folks, and please leave a comment about any mistakes or errors you had with this video. Any to all criticism is appreciated, and I look forward to seeing the discussion below. Thanks again for watching, and look forward to Blade Design Interwebs for the next video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Take a deep